Hi guys, and welcome back to a brand new Reddit Reactions video. Hi everyone, what is the tea? What is the Darjeeling, the Lapsang Souchong, the Scalding Hot Assam, the Earl Grey? What's the tea? Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now today we are going back into the world of Am I the A-hole? To answer some of the most pressing questions, opinions, things all over the internet. You never know what we're going to get with these. I love this one. So thank you for joining me today, and hopefully you enjoyed this, and let me know down below any of your opinions regarding any of the topics we do discuss today. Of course, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you are new, my name is Roly. I'm an LGBT streamer. Well, I guess I'm a streamer, Twitch game person. Also do videos on piercings, body modifications, self-expression, and just life in general. So yeah, subscribe. And if you are watching on a TV, you can scan this code here in case you're just flipping through the channels and you just happen to find me. Scan the QR code and you can subscribe to the channel. But anyway, with all that being said, let's not beat around the bush wattly and get on with these Am I the A-hole posts. So unlike my other ones, this one I'm not going to reveal the general consensus of the chat until after I read the story. So we don't know what we're going into, so I'm going to keep that little part of the chat like hidden, and then we're going to discuss it afterwards. Am I the a-hole for making my daughter remove her piercings? Oh god. My 12-year-old daughter had been wearing her hair down all the time the past few months. I had thought nothing of it, but when we're out today, the wind blew her hair and I got a glimpse of what looked like something sparkly all over her ear. I asked my daughter to show me her ears and she gave me an awfully suspicious look. She reluctantly showed me after I demanded again, and I found out she had her ears pierced numerous times, all the way up, about 7-8 times on each. A 12-year-old with that many piercings. I was in shock because I only took her to get her ears pierced once, and that she had asked about getting second holes done, and she had to wait until she could sign it herself, which I think is fair enough, good parenting. It turned out that her and her friends had been piercing themselves. I was upset that she would do something so irresponsible. The piercings looked very excessive. The hygiene she followed was questionable. I asked my daughter to remove all the earrings and she refused, and this just made me more upset. I am not asking her to remove the piercings because they look infected, but rather she should not have them in the first place. My main issue now is she's disobeyed and keeps secrets. She will likely to have also attend a high school where I would think such excessive piercings would not be allowed. I also asked how the piercings were performed. She said they used a piercing gun one of her friends had sourced. Well, if this isn't the most my channel thing ever, oh my god. Okay, so first of all, a 12-year-old should not be having 8 piercings in each ear. That's way too many. Her ears are still growing, ears still changing shape. Having earlobes done, absolutely fine. Having 8 up either side, you don't need them that young, wait until you're older. There's literally no need for a girl of 12-year-olds to have 8 piercings, which if it's 8, I'm assuming some of it is on cartilage as well, which is a lot of trauma for a young person to actually have in their body, especially like if the hygiene that she's following isn't the best. They've done with piercing guns. I bet if you looked at her ears, like, you would be able to see lots of issues. The mum probably doesn't know that much about piercings. I bet if someone like me or piercers or whatever looked at the ears, I could probably notice a lot of things that are probably wrong with the jewelry on what they've done. The fact that it was done with piercing guns that her friends just sourced, completely unreliable, completely like not knowing what they're doing. Like, I'm completely with this mother here. Like, that's obscene. I'm surprised the school at the moment she's in allows it, let alone a high school. And I agree. This isn't necessarily about the piercings. It's the fact that she's gone behind her parents' back to do something. I mean, we all do things when we're younger. Like, we get it. And I understand the concerns, but like, I do understand the concern of like, well, she's done this now and disobeyed me and is keeping secrets, because what else would she do and not tell you? I do understand that. I get as teenagers and young people, we do keep secrets. I kept many things away from my grandparents. I get it. Obviously, me just being gay was one of them. And the general consensus of this was not the arsehole. I completely agree with her. And the kid that young shouldn't have that many piercings. Sorry, she shouldn't have that many piercings. It's too many for a 12-year-old to look after. Especially because as 12, you're still going to be small. So your ears are like, her ears are probably quite small as well. So like, I can't imagine there's much space between much stuff anyway. 8 on each ear. Should shown on my video scale. I didn't read through the comments on this one because it was essentially just saying what I've just said. But yeah, that's obscene. That's way too many for a 12-year-old. Way too many. This is called, Am I an a-hole for calling my friend a crazy bitch? Oh, the drama, guys. Happened a few weeks ago. I've more recently discovered I'm pregnant and planning on keeping it. I've told my friends, and one of those friends I'm gonna call M, you silly old bitch, has been very, very excited for me. It was fine in the beginning, but now she's starting to particularly act like she is the baby's father. She will insist on buying items for the baby, even though I don't need or want them. And if I refuse, she gets really upset and calls me ungrateful. Refer to the baby as either hers or our baby. Creepy. Is really obsessed with knowing the gender once I can. Really wants to be a boy for some reason. Staying over at my apartment more and more and has offered to let me stay in her house, which has a bit more space. Like really insisting. She has shown me pictures of nurseries that she'd like to do for her baby. Is she gonna snatch your baby? Is this like an EastEnders storyline and they're gonna get loads of Ofcom complaints? Like, what's happening? This is weird. Posting updates and photos constantly, like some people thought she was the pregnant one. I kind of got tired of it all lately, and when she was talking about something baby related, I snapped at her and called her a crazy bitch. Of course, an argument ensued and she left my apartment. She has told our mutual friends about what I said, and I'm getting called an a-hole and heat for it. Starting to wonder if I'm just really rude / the a-hole. Wow. Oh God. First of all, I do think your friend is being incredibly overbearing and way too much. Like it's so intense. Like that is so intense. Like it's not your child. Me and Callum always used to make jokes. Callum is my old housemate. We used to make jokes about our friend Luxaria's dog, Biscuit. So she's got a Dachshund, beautiful little cream, long-haired Dachshund, beautiful, beautiful little boy. And we always make jokes about, oh, he's our dog and we're gonna have our dog and everything. But like, it's not serious. And I know obviously comparing a dog to a child isn't the same thing, but like in this situation, like, you know, Biscuit is Luxaria's baby child. Like that is her child essentially. And so like we make jokes and things. We've bought things for the dog. We've often to take him out and things when, you know, if he wants to, you know, if we were doing something, want to go for a walk or something. That's what you should do. But then to start being like, I'm going to show you nurseries about what we're going to do for my baby, and you can come over to my house and I'm going to buy you constantly things, even though she's saying don't do it, and you're like acting as if like it's your child. It's weird. Like it's very strange. This is very weird behavior. I feel like there might be something going on with this other person and being like, I don't know, can they have children? Maybe they can't, you know, have children themselves, or maybe they're like getting to a certain age where it might be harder. I don't know. There's something weird going on there. Like the fact that someone's so involved like this, it feels like there's some issue going on with this person. Doesn't excuse the overbearing and strange behavior. Something else going on here with this other person. But I don't think you just suddenly having an outburst saying you're a crazy bitch was probably the right way to go around it. You've not really said that you've given her much information regarding how you're kind of feeling a little bit uncomfortable in this situation. It feels like you've just kind of said one or two things about we don't need the gifts. I do think a nicer way in this situation could have been, you could have just sort of had an actual conversation with her beforehand and been like, look, I get that you're excited, but you need to back off a bit because it's kind of becoming a bit overbearing. But instead you just kind of didn't say anything and then went, you're a crazy bitch. And that's never gonna like end well. But it does feel like maybe your outburst was probably avoidable if you just kind of addressed it a little bit sooner. Communication is one of those things that every single human always has a flaw on. One of the biggest reasons most people break up, one of the biggest people most people like stop being friends is because people just don't communicate their feelings, because they're like, oh, it's fine, I'll let it slide, one more thing. And before you know it, 100 things have happened and now you're having outbursts. So communication. Yeah, someone says here, everyone sucks. While your friend's behavior might be overbearing, crossing boundaries, resorting to name calling wasn't the best way to address the situation. It's understandable that you're feeling overwhelmed, but communication is key. It's important to calmly express your feelings and set boundaries with your friend rather than resorting to insults. That being said, your friend also needs to respect your boundaries and understand that this is your pregnancy, not hers. 100%. And the general consensus of this one was everyone sucks. I agree. Actually, I do agree. I do agree with this one. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so I'm going to have to be careful with how I word this. Am I the a-hole for wanting to keep my neo-flancy, a word that rhymes with flancy, that's to do with the worst kind of people that have kind of ever existed? I don't know what I can say. Like when it comes to WAR, there's a lot of like things that you can't say. Without getting into my entire life story, I used to be a very bad person, but you want to keep the tattoos. I know I'm jumping the gun, but you want to keep hate tattoo. Okay. To briefly summarize, my parents never gave two about me, and I fell into some really bad crowds when I was growing up. I got my first tattoo when I was 14, a 1488 on my knuckles. I'm assuming that's probably like a hate number or something for the Flartsies. And as I got older, I got way more. I got a black sun tattooed on my shoulder, a lost sticker on my chest, and the back of my neck, a British Free Corps, British WW2 SS, okay, logo on my forearm. I have way more, but it's a lot to, you got more, but it's a lot to describe. So your body is fully covered with just like racist shit. I'm not gonna excuse my behavior. I was an awful person growing up and I'm ashamed of that part of my life. For the last decade, I have distanced myself from those people and I'm moving on and trying to be better. Well, that's good at least, but the title of this thing doesn't make it sound like you are. I briefly got into quite a huge argument with a friend over my tattoos. She was aware of my past, but she was shocked to see I still had the tattoos. For me, I like having them. You like having hate symbols and okay. It reminds me of the awful man I used to be. No, sorry, this isn't like battling addiction or drugs or something where you can have things that remind you of the past. Like you have hate symbols on you. Like hate symbols that are to do with one of the most awful times in history, and you want to keep them because it reminds you of the time when you believed in it. It's like, sorry, no. It reminds me of the awful man I used to be and how far I've come since then. I always cover them in public and when I'm around people so they don't get offended. The only one I can't really hide is the 1488 on my knuckles, but it's so crude and faded you can barely tell what it is unless you're familiar with what it is. So essentially, like, the people who will know will still see that and go, he's one of us. I don't want to cover them up because then I feel like I'm running away from my past rather than accepting who I was and how much I've changed. I tried to tell her this, but she told me that she couldn't be friends with someone who had such disgusting tattoos. I agree. Sorry. Again, this isn't like you're going, oh, I keep this, I don't know, sobriety token because it reminds me of how much I've come, or I'm keeping this casino chip helped me because it reminds me of where I've come and I don't want to go back there. Those things I understand. I understand that kind of stuff. But to keep hate symbols on you that are so offensive because it reminds you, like, why don't you, like, what? That's weird. So it's weird. That's weird. Like, that's weird. This really upsets me. She's a lovely person. I want to keep her in my life. She also told some of our mutual friends and they are recommending I get them removed or tattooed over. Absolutely. Also, she saw them because I took my jumper off and accidentally revealed one on my abdomen, and she asked how many I had. This is how the argument began. She says they're grossly offensive and disturbing. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Absolutely. You should never be able to look at one of the worst things in history and be like, I've learned from this, but I want to keep all the symbols on my body. Imagine having, I don't know, the N-word on you, or like other racial slurs, or things that are like, I don't know, there are so many different things that you would just never have on you. You'd be like, well, I used to be racist once, therefore I keep the N-word on my chest. Like, you would just never do that. Like, I don't understand. Like, I get it's expensive, but you've also made that choice to put those really horrific things on you. So unfortunately, sometimes it's like, well, okay, maybe I will spend the money to get them removed or covered up. I just don't see, you might disagree with me, but I just do not see this in the same league as like reminding me of my past, of like something you've gone through. This isn't the same. Someone's commented here, you are the a-hole. Normally I'm more for your body, your business, but in this case, you have literal marks of hate on your body. In many places, well, if you expose those tattoos, you'll be arrested for hate crimes. But in this case, you have literal hate marks on your body, and just as she said, saw them by accident, so could many others. And their first thoughts won't be that you've changed. They'll think that you're horrible neo-Flartsy. Absolutely, they're not going to know that. You don't need them to remember. You will always remember. Yeah, you're never going to forget that part of your life either. Honestly, I see you wanting to keep them as part of you, not ready to give that up. And that's the fucking tea. Why would any sane person want to spend the rest of their life walking around with marks of hate on their body? Do you have a partner? If not, what if you eventually get one? Do you think they will sleep next to those marks every single night? Yeah, I mean, you can tell the consensus of this. The consensus of it is you are an asshole. And this person makes a good point. Your friends saw it by accident. By accident. There are probably other people that have seen it by accident as well. Workplace. What if you had a job and suddenly your workplace saw it? Like, you'd be instantly fired. Like, no job, if they suddenly saw you had like neo-Flartsy tattoos on you, would keep you if they saw that. If you were working for me and I noticed on your back there was suddenly a huge lost sticker and you were like, well, it's from my past. I'm like, sorry, you're not working for me. I'm not having anyone bring that into my world. That also has like an effect on people around you. If I was with someone and they secretly had a tattoo that was a neo-Flartsy and that was shown, all of a sudden I am now guilty by association. It's not like someone with a slightly different opinion. That is one of the worst things to ever happen in human history. It would be very different if this person said, I'm saving up to remove them at some point, but at the moment, like, I just can't financially do it. But this person goes, no, I want to keep them. I want to keep them. No, sorry. No, sorry. No. Bye. So this one is called, am I the a-hole for showing up 20 minutes early? Let's see, girls. My brother, 30, invited my wife, 29, my son, 6, and I, 30, over to his house to watch the playoff game. Originally, he asked me to pick him up after work as him and his wife share a car. I told him I'd be getting off work really close to pickup time, so I'll get my wife to do it. I ended up getting off early and headed home to meet up with my wife before she left to pick him up. We left early and we're going to sit in his work slot until he got off, but we saw his wife pull in right before we got there. I called him and asked what was going on, and he said he texted my wife that he didn't need a ride. But it was after we left and she was driving. Whatever. Annoying, but it doesn't matter. I tell him, okay, we're heading to your place now then. He replied, we have things to do before you show up, so please come at 4. Oh, I figured that he's got to hit the store on the way home. Whatever, we'll wait outside his house. When we get to his house, the car is in the driveway and the front door is open with the glass door closed, but it is 3:40 p.m. So I unbuckled my son and we walk up to the house, knock on the door and hear my brother scream, 4 means effing 4. And he walks past the door to the TV. His wife opens the door and starts to lay into me about how 4 means 4 and just generally being rude. Punctuality has never been a cornerstone of any of our relationships. I've never been yelled at for being early before. My sister-in-law mentioned my mother in her text, so I assume my mum did something to make her angry about punctuality, and it's putting that on me all of a sudden. So I decided I don't want to spend the next 3 hours with people who made me feel extremely uncomfortable, unwelcome. So I turned around and told my wife we are going home, and my son we are going home. My wife agrees. My son burst into tears as he was really excited to see their puppy, but we pack him up and get some ice cream to cheer him up as we headed home. The entire drive home, my phone and my wife's phone was being blown up by my brother and his wife I'm taking 50 plus calls, texts between the two of us. Apparently, I'm an a-hole for showing up 20 minutes early and then leaving after being yelled at because they spent too much time and money on food. He also deleted the account we made together to watch the playoffs online through his cable. Yes, he can do that, but it's still a dick move in my opinion, and has given me a list of things he gifted over the years that he wants back. Old computer parts that he didn't need after upgrading. Okay, so I do feel like there is an element of like everyone being an a-hole here. Now, I'm not going to say what the general consensus is of this one, of course, like the rest until the end, but you showed up early to a party that you were told starts at 4. I think there's a very different thing where you're like 20 minutes late considered 20 minutes early. Coming up early does, in most people, is considered rude. I would be annoyed if I was planning a party and I told people to get there at a certain time and then suddenly like a load of them shows up early because it's like, well, I wasn't ready for you. So it is rude to show up early. It's not rude to show up a little bit late. Fashionably late? No, you're just late. Maybe when people say like, I'm just fashionably late. No, you're just an asshole who doesn't like value other people's time. Like if you intentionally be showing up late, you're an asshole. Becoming early, there's not really like an early time that's not considered assholery, I think. Say it was just one specific person who happened to be there because they were in the area or something, and they were like, oh, do you mind if I come and I'll help you set where the rest up? And they gave them the opportunity, and then if they said yes, wonderful. If they say no, I'd prefer you show at 4, then they've already told you that you can't come early, so respect that. But I do think the reaction that the brother had does seem very extreme, as if like other things have been going on that you've pissed them off about and now they're kind of exploding at you. Or it could be the mother-in-law did something that has annoyed them and now they're taking out on you. And I do think that his reaction was a bit much, but I do wonder if anything else has been going on between you two, because if this is like the first time anything like this has happened and he's exploded at you this much, I think, is there something else going on here? Have you annoyed this person a lot more before and this is their final straw and they've snapped? I don't know. The whole going to pick him up beforehand and not like, you know, and the reason you were over that side is because you were going to pick him up. That to me, that's not really an excuse to still show up early. Like you were told that they didn't need you anymore. and it's not their fault that you didn't see the message. They still informed you. Personally, to me, I feel like everyone's being a bit dickish. I'm getting the impression that maybe you've pissed him off a lot before, maybe, and that this is his last straw, or like you've not listened to their requests multiple times, and this is like the straw that broke the camel's. Wow. But I do think the reaction was an overreaction. So to me, there has to be something else here, else his brother's insane. So the general consensus of this is everybody sucks. Yeah, I agree, but I do think there's more information that needs to be given in this. So this is called, am I the a-hole for removing my maid of honor's tattoos via Photoshop in my wedding pictures? Oh, wow. I mean, just by the title, if someone invited me to be at their wedding and then they edited me to look completely different, I would be livid. That feels very much like 80-year-old Kathy being like, what are your wedding photos gonna look like? So, I, 32 female, got married 2 months ago to my husband, 35 male. We have a beautiful wedding and my childhood BFF, Jessica, 31, was my maid of honor. I had a themed wedding. My husband and I were both historians and we met because we were researching the same time period for our thesis, namely the 1800s Great Britain, or popularly known as the Regency era. The fact that we both researched the same time period was practically the reason why we started dating. So we initially loved the idea of a themed wedding set in the Regency era, as it's sentimental to us and a beautiful way to honor our beginnings. Interesting time frame, even though it was quite a hateful time for everyone. For my wedding, I personally paid for my wedding party's dresses, hair, and makeup. Now, Jessica has tattoos on her hands, legs, torso, and neck. I brought up her tattoos and asked her what she would prefer to do with them to stay on theme. She said she wishes to do nothing, and while she understands the theme is important to my husband and I, she was not going to cover herself up in any way, as she didn't want to compromise herself, which, I mean, I understand. I was a little miffed, but I accepted this since it's a fair boundary and I shouldn't push it. Like, you can't, if you, like, the thing is, like, if you're inviting someone who you know is heavily modded or something to your, like, there is an element that's like, you can't really tell someone to be like, well, I don't accept you for this because I want a themed wedding. Like, there are many things in the old world that's probably, like, in the early 1800s, they're not going to have these incredibly high definition 8K cameras, are they? But you're still going to probably use them. So much of what you're probably going to do, they won't have. And I just think, I don't know, you can integrate tattoo. I think to go to extent to be like, you must cover your tattoos if you're going to be my maid of, like, she's your maid of honor as well. That's just my boundary. I couldn't imagine saying to my best friend, who I've known and loved for so many years, to be like, I'm having a themed wedding, therefore, I don't know, you can't have blonde hair. Maybe because I'm a raging homosexual, so maybe my boundaries of what kind of would fit into themes would be a bit more loose because we're a little more expressive in the queer world. Yeah, I was a little bit miffed, but it's a boundary that I didn't want to push it. Plus, gloves were an important part of the bridesmaid's attire, meaning most of her tattoos will be covered by the gloves itself. And it was, and it was really just the neck tattoos. I was worried because the bridesmaids' dresses have conservative necklines, so it wouldn't be very conspicuous. And so I thought I could just get over this and not worry. I think you're putting too much pressure on this, like, tattoo. I think you're just being a little bit too intense with this theming at the moment. I just think it's a bit strange. However, on the day of the wedding, Jessica's gloves were small instead of big ones I expected the bridesmaids to wear. And her dress's neckline did nothing to cover her tattoos. And she had altered it last minute. I did not expect this and was kind of thrown off. But after a while, I stopped caring and was busy having the best day of my life. However, fast forward to a few weeks ago, I got back first set of pictures from my wedding day, and the pics with Jessica in them were jarring to say the least because of her tattoos. It was honestly so out of place since I had asked my photographer to edit the pics to give them a historic portrait look like. But I wanted a particular pic of me and my husband and I and our families, maid of honor and bridesmaid frames, but but if anyone saw that pic, the first thing they would have noticed was Jessica's tattoos and not my husband and I. Oh, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Okay, I really wanted this one particular picture to look like an actual portrait drawn in the 1810s, so I went ahead and asked the photographer to digitally remove the tattoos. See, this is where you've really lost me. The post Photoshop pic came into a small mail yesterday and I showed it to Jessica and I knew she would get annoyed with this and I was ready to apologize sincerely, but also let her know that I won't be returning the picture. Jessica was very, very, very mad, but when she saw the pic and told me this was narcissistic and disrespectful thing to do and stormed out of my house, She was more mad than I ever expected her to be, and now I'm not sure if I was truly out of line or just a little bit selfish, so am I the a-hole? Wow. Okay, so this is a tricky one. My personal opinion, I feel like everyone's being a bit dicky here. Like, she shouldn't have altered the dress. There wasn't as much description there. She said that she'd altered the dress. You didn't really say how much she did, but you kind of said she altered this. Like, if you've been given a wedding dress or something, or, you know, a maid of honor dress, don't edit. Like, that is the bride's decision, what dress you wear. Like, if you don't like that, then, like, there's an issue there because it is her wedding. I just feel like you're caring a little bit too much about the theming, that you're sort of, like, I feel like you're being quite disrespectful to your best friend. Like, you care that much. Like, you can't have tattoos because they didn't have tattoos in the 1800s, which itself isn't true. And there could have been some things to accommodate it. But, like, I personally feel like maybe Jessica was probably pissed off with what you were requesting, so she may have been a little bit more bold with how much she was showing. The general consensus here is not the a-hole. I actually disagree. I feel like everyone here is being a bit douchey. I feel like there could have been potentially a compromise. If you were given gloves and everyone else was wearing the gloves and it was part of the costume, I'd understand. If you were given the gloves, specifically just you, and everyone else didn't have to wear them, to me that feels like I'm giving these to you because I want you to cover up and not everyone else. So there's an element of like slight spite there. So I don't know. Although the general consensus says she's not the arsehole, I actually disagree. I think everyone here is being a bit douchey. I think there could have been some compromise on everyone's part here, and there's so much intent about, like, we must have the photo exactly like this, and I must take, like, I don't know. Don't ask your maid of honor to be your maid of honor who is heavily modified if you're then going to say, but you have to cover up everything and not be you. I get that it's a themed wedding, so everyone's kind of not being themselves, but I think there's a limit where it feels a little bit too far. You've just put so much emphasis on these tattoos that it feels like there's an other, like, it feels like you just don't like her tattoos in general. I don't know, it feels like there's something else going on here. Assholery around everyone, because you should never, like, alter the dress that you've been given by the bride. You asked her and she said, I wasn't going to cover myself up in any way. She didn't want to cover myself, which I was a little miffed, but you said, I accepted this since it was a fair boundary, so I didn't push it. You accepted it, so I think to then suddenly be like, well, actually, because I wanted one photo, I had to Photoshop it all out. You've sent the message now to Jessica that you're okay with it. I feel like everyone here is being a little bit douchey. I don't actually think she's being just the twat on her own. There's a lot of douchery afoot here. Like, I understand when someone says to you, can't be yourself, it does feel like an attack. It does. And it's really difficult to not have that initial reaction. I mean, as someone doing YouTube and stuff as long as I have, people tell me I'm awful all the time, so I'm kind of used to it. But if you're not used to that kind of thing as well, it can feel like a bit of an attack. So I understand why she might get a bit defensive and things. You shouldn't have altered the dress anyway. And the gloves were different. Like, did you just wear different gloves? So I'm not sure, like, you've given her gloves once, but you've given her 2 sets of gloves. So you said that she has to wear this, but she's wearing different gloves. Because however, on the day, Jessica's gloves were small instead of the big ones I expected the bridesmaid to wear. So where did she get the small ones from? I don't know. There's a lot of things here that I have questioned about, but my general consensus actually is that everyone's being a bit douchey. I don't know. I just think there's just seems to be a lot of attention to these tattoos that, like, it just feels like you actually just don't like tattoos at all. Because when you hear that kind of stuff, it's always like, you always get those like middle-aged women who are always like, oh, those tattoos are going to ruin your wedding photos. Oh, what are you going to do when you get married? Like, it feels very that kind of mindset. I feel like this one's going to be a bit of a divisive one for people, to be honest. Okay, so this one is called, am I the a-hole for telling my cousin that her 1-year-old toddler shouldn't use smartphones? Oh, I already agree. I recently visited my cousin. She has a small 1-year-old kid whom she lets use smartphones to watch TikTok and YouTube Kids. I mean, let's not put them on TikTok already. I will agree with that. I don't like it so much, small kids being given smartphones, and frankly, it is harmful. I understand parents getting in from work are tired, but still, the child's brain is at risk. Then my mother called out to the kid. She wanted to talk or play with him, but the kid didn't even budge, consistently looking at the screen as if he couldn't even register the presence. After a few minutes, he eventually closed the smartphone and went to play with her. I was still alarmed and told my cousin that young kids using smartphones will ruin them, and that is obviously not good for the brain. She went defensive and basically told me that one day I will too be a parent, and that she will wait to see how I will deal with the kid. I just replied that I will be responsible and not letting my toddler use phones ever. Sure, it's not my child, but I just wanted to give an advice. Majority of parents let their very young kids, and even younger than that, use smartphones, watch TikTok or YouTube Kids on their TV screens. And frankly, it's infuriating considering all the research and studies done on the negative effects of the screens. So I actually do agree with this woman to a certain degree. The future is happening the way that it is, regardless if you like it or not. Using technology, screens, phones, social media, all of these things are so integrated into society, and it's progressing. Things are getting more smart. Everything's becoming smart devices now. Like it's going that way. This is how the future will be, unless it's some sort of like extreme solar flare that wipes everything out. I don't know. Technology like this is going to happen whether you like it or not. So actively denying your children the access to technology is actively harming their future, because schools, work, interviews, all of loads of things is going to involve technology, and they're going to need to use it. Like, whether you like it or not, that is just reality, and that is the future. So actively not letting your children use technology is going to harm their future. However, I say on my channel all the time that social media is rotting people's brains, especially things like TikTok. I am still myself someone who gets stuck in a flipping loop. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll be flipping for a while, looking for content or doing something for videos, and then not realizing I've spent an hour kind of not doing any of that, and then looking at complete things that are completely unrelated. For young people, things like TikTok is destroying their brains. It's making their attention spans so small. I have been majorly affected by this myself, especially if anyone's got like neurodivergence. Like things like this can affect you very strongly. So I do agree, giving how old was this child? A 1-year-old toddler to use TikTok? I'm like, well, you're not really going to have an account anyway unless you're a certain age. I'm not sure what the age is. I think it's maybe 13 or 14. I do think 1-year-olds using TikTok, maybe don't. It doesn't really understand what it's looking at anyway. I think letting kids watch TV or watching cartoons and things isn't detrimental to them. I think if you rely on it too much to keep them in check, then possibly there needs to be something addressed there. I think it's just the amount that you are using it. Like if you really wanted to have this discussion with them, you could have had an actual discussion about smart devices and what it means, instead of just going, that's not good for your child, you shouldn't be doing it, because it just comes across as judgmental. You also don't have children, so it's kind of difficult for you to really relate to what it must feel like. I do think you're being a bit of a douche here. There could have been many better ways to go around this, and instead you've kind of just gone a little bit on the judgy attack and given unwarranted opinions in a situation where like it wasn't really warranted. I also want to say that this child is a 1-year-old toddler. I watched my children's I'm a dad, Scales, I'm a daddy. I've got 8 children. I watched my sister's kids grow up from babies to now. They're now 7 years old. When they were 1 year old, when someone goes, Clarissy, can you come play with me, girls? They would never just suddenly be like, oh, I have to go now, goodbye. Oh, I'm going to play. Like there were so many times that we would call them and they wouldn't necessarily listen or something because they're 1 year old. 1-year-olds don't really have much sentience as to what things mean or what things do. Like they can barely even speak. I don't know. I feel like you're expecting a lot from a 1-year-old to be like, Mummy, my mother called the child and the child didn't even respond or go. Like it's a 1-year-old toddler. Like what are you expecting? Oh, I must turn the phone off now. Grandmama is talking to me. So the general consensus to this one was asshole. And yes, I do agree. I think you were being a douche here. I think there could have been many different ways that you kind of gone around this, but you just kind of come across a bit arrogant and douchey. It seems like you've just got some sort of vendetta against social media and smartphones. Please comment down below what you actually feel about this, because I still stand by what I say about like social media and things are rotting people's brains, and I think young people should be limited to the amount of time that they are on these apps. It really does mess up with your brain chemistry and the dopamine effects that it does have on your brain, because you're wanting that fix so fast now. It's even affected me, and I'm an adult, like for let alone children where their brains are still developing. More restrictions for your kids of how long they can be on it, because like it's not good to be staring at a screen all the time. Like you want to be able to go and do things. Like the outside still does exist. So this one says, am I the a-hole for showing my lewd piercings around co-workers? Oh God. I, 25 female, got sent to another branch with 3 other co-workers to train the workers at this branch teach them a new protocol. My co-workers and I got put up in a lovely hotel with a big pool bar area. After work one night, I go down by myself to the pool area in a modest bathing suit. So everything was covered. I got a drink and I'm sitting by the pool with my co-workers, name changed, Greg, Phil, and Jill. Oh, Greg, Phil, and Jill all had a threesome. We're having a gangbang against the chairs. They all get drinks and come sit around a little pool I was sitting at. I was sitting on the edge with just my feet in. Since I wasn't in my normal business attire, you could see the ball of my piercings. So, the outline of my nipple piercings and the outline of my VHC piercings. Essentially a clitoris piercing on the hood. So you can see the outline of my one there. I also have a septum and stretched ears, but my team knew I had those. Well, I guess everyone noticed my more private ones, but Greg was interested and asked if they hurt, what kind of Julia had in, and what kind of Julia had. Phil just said he couldn't handle getting any piercings like that and gives me props for taking the pain. Jill just stayed a bit quiet and would occasionally agree with the guys when they would say it would be too painful to do so. Well, this trip ends and we get home. Human resources started calling us in, saying that at the hotel, I created a sexual situation by making my co-workers look at my inappropriate piercings. Phil and Greg came up to me and asked what was going on, so I decided Jill made the report. Phil and Greg said that that's not what happened, and Jill ended up getting moved from my team. The issue is Jill came up to me and was mad she got moved from my team and her new team doesn't work well with her. She then said I shouldn't have had those stupid piercings because they aren't professional. So it was her who made the complaint. I told her she needs to calm down because she can basically make the less effective team leader, and since they didn't bother her, anyway, I don't need to read the rest. This is written in one block of text, and as a dyslexic person, when it's all in one big block of text like that, I struggle so hard to read it. Essentially, she goes on a work trip. She's wearing a bathing suit, but you can see the piercing balls that they wouldn't normally be able to see because they weren't in this kind of environment normally. I'm sorry. If that like she didn't do anything to sexualize herself then. That was completely the other people. The other guy just asked questions or whatever, but the fact that Jill was like affronted by it, like to me is weird. So, if you have piercings, sometimes when you wear a bathing suit, you can see the balls. Sometimes if you wear tight t-shirts, you can see the balls. There's nothing sexual about that. The only thing that's making that sexual is you, not the person with the piercings. This is 100% your problem and not theirs. You've gone into a swimming pool environment anyway, where like people are wearing less clothing, so more skin is on show, but you've suddenly got a problem with the piercings rather than other people in their bathing suits and stuff. You've obviously just don't like her or something. I feel like this is a very strange thing to have an issue with, where like you're in an environment where people are generally not very clothed anyway. Not the arsehole in my opinion. And the general consensus of this one was not the arsehole, which yes, I completely agree with. I don't think she's the arsehole. Everyone in the comments are basically saying the same as what I've just said. Like it wasn't her making it sexual, it was the other woman making it sexual. Just having piercings isn't innately sexual in its own. But then she's bitching about the fact that the new person, like the new people don't work well with her. Well, Jill, if you just kept your mouth shut and stopped being a moron, this wouldn't have happened to begin with. You clearly made the complaint about her because you obviously had an issue with the fact that she had like genital or like nipple piercings. And like why did it bother you at all? I don't get why it bothers you. Why it bothered you at all in any way, shape or form. You obviously just didn't like this girl and you were kind of just looking for a reason to get rid of her. It's the whole discussion though about things like boobs and stuff. Like boobs aren't innately sexual. It's because we make them sexual, which is why like women have to cover them up and stuff. And it's like, it's true. Absolutely. It's just ridiculous. You can see many men who have much bigger breasts than some girls, but do we have to tell them to cover them up? No, because it's not seen as sexual. I'm not trying to body shame, but that is reality. So this one is called, am I the a-hole for being truthful with my friends when telling them I won't go on a weekend away because I don't want to talk about marriages, babies for 3 days? What a title, go along with a mouthful. Oh, we love a mouthful. Take a mouthful, girls. I, 27 female, have a group of female friends, 8 of us. We have been friends for over a decade since school. Wow, the fact that you managed to keep 8 friends from high school, that's wow. Now, we don't live in the same place. We meet up a couple times a year for a weekend in our Airbnb. This used to be a weekend of good food, drinks, hot tubs, etc. I'm content with my life at the moment. I'm single, dating, and I don't know if I want children. But in the event I did, I know I wouldn't want one soon. Around 5 of my friends are either married or in long-term relationships. Of these 5, 2 either have baby or are pregnant. I will be seeing all of my friends this year for various weddings, friends, babies, events. I've been invited on this year's girls trip. I said I can't come, and I didn't provide a reason originally. When queried, I in person by my friend who is pregnant, I told her the truth. I am not going because it's a massive financial expense for 3 days where we will only talk about people's upcoming engagements, weddings, babies. I have a lot going on, but I feel a lot of friends do not show an interest unless I talk about someone I'm dating. I also last time listened to one of my friends talk about her breastfeeding plans with vengeance for over an hour. She was not pregnant or trying. Truthfully, it's boring and it feels dismissive. It's also a really expensive way to feel bad about myself. I made it clear when telling my friends this that I'm thrilled for them all living the lives they want, but maybe it's not the weekend for me at the moment. Meaning it feels like the group has 2 distinct life stages. I'm in the minority and it focuses on one stage. My friend has since told me she's really hurt and I'm not excited for her, or main character syndrome, or other friends. I responded saying I evidently was from the other actions, but I just didn't feel like this trip was for me. I do have numerous other things on and to fit this one in both in the calendar and financially is a struggle. I just want to add for this friend specifically, I have gone on 3 weekends away for her wedding and I'm flying to go to her baby shower. All this in the last 2 years. I have not asked nor has she wanted to fly to see me for anything in the last 2 years. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I potentially feel like this could be one of those times where you have to really evaluate your life and the people around you and just think, has your friendship with these people had its time? To have friends as an adult, how did they say how old they are now? Hang on, did she say how old she was? 27. So, you know, almost 10 years to still have friends who are in your school surroundings. I'm assuming this is America. They've not really said America. If it's the UK, like we left school at like 16 or whatever. If she's 27 now, she would have left school when she was sort of like 16 or 18, depending on what she did. You still got school friends, which in itself is quite 8 of them as well. It's quite interesting. Most people don't really stay friends with their high school friends or school friends. When I was in school, there was about 15 of us was in this whole group, and I'm still in contact with about 3 of them regularly. It rarely happens unless you kind of like never leave town and you kind of stay in the same town, because if you're all in the same town, it makes kind of more sense. You said that you don't all live in the same place, so I think it's very rare to still stay friends with this many people, 8 of them. That sounds like a lot, and it feels like that you're at very different stages in your life to still do like girls' holidays and things together, and you're saying that this isn't really something you want to do. I just think like maybe is the friendship that you've had with these people kind of run its course? I'm not saying you can't be friends with people who are at different aspects of your life, but to be this intense about it, where they're like so upset and you're still going to flower this thing, like to still have these reactions, to me seems weird. Most of my friends in my life now are all chosen as an adult through doing social media and having friends from like specific work things that I've managed to stay friends with. I don't really have many friends from like my hometown, from my high school, from my school, just because life's very different. You go different paths, and it's okay to see that like sometimes friendships do change, and you know, you still have the love for each other, but like you don't need this kind of, you're not gonna have what you did before where it's like hanging out all the time and doing fun things, especially if like you're someone who just like doesn't have children, single, still dating, but all your other friends are all married off or having children, living that kind of like parent life. The fact there's a huge group of them and they're all doing it together and it's just you, it does feel like maybe the time on this friendship has kind of run its course, and it feels like maybe there's like hanging on for some reason. That's just my interpretation. I don't know. But it's very common. It's very common to change your friends over the years. It's not always a bad thing. People grow and change and their life changes. So it's not always a negative thing, but I do think that might need to be addressed here. You've said that like the past few trips, you've also felt very bad about yourself because of it. This isn't a one-off. So I'm starting to think that maybe you might need to reevaluate this situation a bit more with these people. Comment here, not the a-hole, because the real issue here is different from how it seems. On the surface, this seems like just about engagements, weddings, and babies. You go out of your way to constantly support them. However, they don't reciprocate that for you. They can't relate to anything or want to relate to anything outside their lives. It would sort of be like if you won an award, but all they wanted to talk about was the pie they just ate that morning. Absolutely. Absolutely. Completely agree. And the general consensus of this one was, not the a-hole. Yeah, I agree. Not yet. I do agree. I agree. So this one says, am I the a-hole for asking this woman if her tattoos meant anything? I work at a grocery store where customer service and being nice is emphasized. You'd probably know the name of the store, but I'm not going to say the name. Asda. I was working today and we were encouraged to talk to customers and make conversation. I hate that. I hate going into stores and people just come up to me like, are you okay? Did you help? Like, I've literally just stood in the store.
Don't talk to me.
I'm a grumpy old man, you see. This one with a bunch of tattoos came through my line and I was putting her groceries in the cart and I say, hey, what do your tattoos mean? She gave me this kind of disgusted and mean look. She was like, are they supposed to mean something? I said, sorry, I was just curious. After I finished with her groceries, she left. I wasn't trying to hit on her. I just thought maybe she'd excited to talk about her tattoos. I felt bad about it. Okay, so, I mean, I don't think you're being an arsehole. So I need to, the general consensus of this is like the person isn't an arsehole, and I need to say that because I want to say what I need to say. It would ruin it. I don't feel like you're intentionally being an arsehole here. Like the general consensus seems to be here. I'm finding that I'm going to read some of the comments, but I find it odd that the thing is you're being an arsehole. I feel like this person was just a bit, maybe slightly misguided. I don't think this person was intentionally going out of their way to like insult or to be rude to this person. Just slightly misguided. Like, you could have said, oh, I really love your tattoos. Like, why, like, what, you know, there could have been many different things that you could have said instead of just instantly going, what do they mean? Because it's one of those things that like people generally be like, you should only get tattoos that have a deep meaning to you, which I don't agree with at all. I mean, they're nice when there's some deep meanings, but like technically, like, The Simpsons and the games, like, they've been a huge part of my life, so they do have meanings. So I'm kind of in the middle of like what my tattoos really are. I love the way they look and I love them as they are, but they do have some kind of meaning. But when people say things like, what do they mean? It generally is like, it's my child's birthday. Or like, it was when I survived my car crash. Like, so when people say they have meanings, they're expecting things like that deep. But I don't think you're an arsehole. I just think you maybe just a little bit misguided. I think you're just a bit ignorant. I don't think I think arsehole is quite intense. I think you're just maybe a slightly bit, yeah, misguided. So I'm really surprised that it's come as an arsehole. I think you could have been like, I really love your tattoos. Like, where did you get them done? Like, you could have asked many different things instead of, do they have a meaning? We asked it in a world where people still go, tattoos should have meanings. And I don't know when we're going to get out of that, but I personally don't think this guy's an arsehole. I think maybe just slightly misguided. So this person says, very mild, you're the a-hole. Next time you want to know about someone's tattoos, start with just saying, nice ink, or wow, I love your forearm piece. Absolutely. Some people are delighted to talk about their tattoos, and others, especially women, would rather not be asking by a stranger about the meaning of their tattoos. Carries a risk of treading into way too personal. Yeah, that's untrue. And that's the thing actually as well. That's a good point. Sometimes people do get tattoos that might have meanings that are quite deep that they might not necessarily want to discuss. So I understand that to a certain degree. Slightly, either it would be like trauma dumping, or maybe it's something that they like to talk about when they want to. Well, guys, I'm well and truly aboard that trigger train. Choo choo, speeding down the railway, about to crash off a cliff and plunge to my death. Bye! Oh, I'm back just like Jesus Christ. Oh, squat for Jesus. Oh, Jesus loves a good peach. Oh, Jesus was the a-hole. Oh, Jesus loved a good a-hole. Oh, Jesus loved to get genital piercings. Oh, Jesus loved to, I don't know, have tattoos at weddings. Wow. I mean, I really do love doing these videos because you really have no idea what we're going to get. I don't like to pre-screen these too much. I just type in a word and click one there. I type in a word, click one there. So I don't like to sort of read them beforehand. So these are genuine reactions to what we're seeing. So yeah, I'm really glad that these are entertaining for you guys. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Please, any stories we have covered today, comment down below. What do you think about them? How do you express? Express your emotions in the most vicious way possible. Oh, God. If you're still watching this video now, comment down below, Nintendo 64. Thank you for watching today's video. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and of course, again, if you're watching on the TV, scan the QR code. You can subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything that is coming up. And again, as always, make sure you do hit the notification bell and follow me on social medias. All the links are down below. Thank you for joining me today. Today's Twitch shout out goes to Stardust6815. Thank you for following me over on Twitch. If you'd like to be in the chance being next Twitch shout out, there's a a link down below. Come follow me on Twitch. We stream multiple nights a week. Come some fun, and maybe you could be in the next Twitch shout out. A massive, lovely shout out to my gorgeous Patreons, whose names you can see on the side of the screen here. Thanks for being a Patreon. You guys are mwah, delicious wishy. And an extra special shout out to my top tier Patreons: Adam Brett Batch, Hannah Ruth, Kelly Rose, Nova, Rye Loves Rory, Cameron Pittman, Rishi, Athena Berrington, Erin Grace, Benjamin Baker, Aya, Beth Art, Steph Utek, Caitlin Wright, Chloe Louise, Shell Herman, and Kelly Bowser. Thank you for being a top tier Patreon. You guys are mwah, delicious wishy. Anyway, be fabulous, be amazing, be gay, be everything you want to be, and don't let any bitch out there tell you you can't be. Why is that? Because you're flawless, girl.